Mheshimiwa, I would like to take this opportunity before I dive too much to welcome you so that you can open our forum officially. We are here to listen to you, your words of wisdom, and I'm sure you have a message for us from the first Vice President of Zanzibar, Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad, who was expected to be with us here today, but you are representing him. So I would like to take this opportunity, Mheshimiwa, to welcome you to take the floor. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Please welcome.
The chairman of ZIF, my brother, Honorable Mohammed Thabit Kombo, and all the distinguished ZIF board members. ZIF special guest film producer, director, actor, and star, Mr. Mario Van Beeples. The main sponsor for this event and forum, director, producer, filmmaker, photographer, publisher, and promoter of Zanzibar as a tourist destination and filming location, Mr. Jaffrey. The chairman of the Wananchi Group representing Zuku as the lead sponsor, Mr. Ali Mufuruki. CEO of ZIF, Professor Ikoiba Bunting. Dear presenters presenting different papers and presentation today on the challenges of Zanzibar as a film location. Honorable guests from diplomatic corps, filmmakers, producers, directors, ladies and gentlemen, friends and members of the press. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. The Zanzibar International Film Festival, popularly known as ZIF, in collaboration with ZG Films and ZG Design, has today announced an exciting forum at this year's ZIF Festival, where it coincides with the celebration of 15 years of ZIF, made in Zanzibar Forum.
Filmmaking from Africa, and I think that there's a very strange effect of slavery. And one of the strange effects of slavery was we took people from all these beautiful places in Africa, and we sent them all around the world. But other than Brazil, what they did in America by taking away the drum and taking away the language differences was make one hell of a tribe. And that tribe speaks one language. So whether you're a Mandinka, a Sesa, a Hausa, you now in America, I don't know. I just speak English, some French, and some Spanish, and some Ebonics. So what that means is we have a lot of economic clout. So consequently, my father could do Sweetback and have it just go to African Americans and be a hit movie. Yeah. You see that? You see what I'm saying? So you're not asking for an outside help. So if I make a movie in America below a certain budget line, when I went to my partner, Michael Cohen, who's doesn't look like me in color, but that's my other brother, and we said we wanted to make our movie We the Party, and we didn't want to ask anyone. If we kept the budget below a certain range, we knew that if we just got black folks to see it, we'd be cool. Do you see my point? So when you have tribal infighting, it makes it harder because then you don't have a common language. I suspect yours would be Swahili, wouldn't it, correct? So it'd be very interesting to see what your language comes like and then what your cultural identity becomes. And that's going to be your issue. So the first part is setting it up. The second part is, will you be proud of your representation?
If one thinks that there's no film industry in Zanzibar or Tanzania, then they need to think again from a historical perspective, where the first cinema hall and the imported reels were established as early as 1930s, in adding to the well-known industries of Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood that's from Nigeria. Zanzibar has all the rights through the 15 years of Zanzibar International Film Festival platform and the presence of this audience here today to dream for Zanzibar, thus establishing Zanzibar as a film destination.
It is a sad story that until today we don't have a commission for film. I would start by giving an example of countries in Europe where they have this big intention of making their countries a hub for filmmaking. And there are several measures which the governments in Europe have taken in order to achieve their goals. Well, if we take an example of UK in Europe, there is a UK Film Council, and this is a government strategic agency for film in UK. Its function is to make the UK a hub and natural home for film in the digital age. It works closely with the government and the film industry, offering policy advice about industrial, economic, and cultural issues affecting film. It makes policy and provides funding. It is a government body.
One of the most important things is that we have no box office in Tanzania. We have a total of less than 6 to 7 theaters across the country. So, we have no box office. It's strictly an ancillary market. The distribution is predominantly, in fact, completely DVD. So it's a very, very different market in terms of feature or in terms of Burkina Faso and other places. Tanzania is very much in that nascent stage. Obviously, we talked about the fact that this is a growing market, and you'll see the next slide, which has tremendous statistics, but it is a DVD market. There is no SVOD or any other kind of streaming at this stage. Obviously, you've got a lot of data, but there's no streaming that's taking place. What determines commercial success anywhere in the world? Simple things like taste, merit, script quality, the quality of the actors that Mario talked about, the quality of the cast, obviously, the director. I'm sure this is where Posse gets done by a father and is successful. So director quality is key. In the past, risk mitigation in Hollywood or elsewhere was very much based on pre-sales, box office, projections of negative rights. That doesn't happen in Africa. Doesn't happen at all in Tanzania because, as I said, there's no box office. Yeah.
But how will Zanzibar benefit from filmmaking and tourism? Before we get into Zanzibar, let us look at the example of various places worldwide, regionally Southern Africa, regionally in the East African lines. I think Zanzibar, being a tourism destination, will benefit more from the film that will be shot in the islands. When Ayan was made, between 90 and 100 crew came and stayed for 2 weeks. They needed transport, accommodation, food, and other services. All the money generated went to the local economy. Another 120 people to 200 were engaged to create a scene at the markets, which was also an additional income to the locals. Clearly, apart from the marketing advantages, they are immediate spin-off for local economic development. If Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever we call it, Zollywood, could somehow be engaged to shoot films in Zanzibar, such productions would bring a higher image to the destination.
If young Zanzibaris have access to entertaining Zanzibari stories when they are young, they are more likely to view Zanzibari films when they are older. And we could see that movies can have a deep impact onto the personality and subconscious of certain groups of persons, especially those who tend to internalize the plots and bond with characters according to their culture, according to their backgrounds. Also, there is growing concern about the impact of film, about TVs, and it's currently related to the increase of use of violence and sex as entertainment within films, which is also have its impact on the culture. That's where people coming from.
What's going to be extremely important here is going to be media literacy. So if you're not engaging young people at school level, at university, even South Africa, we've been fighting the same song about including media literacy into the school curriculum. It hasn't happened. And I think if you as Tanzania begin to do that, because you've got the bait and move on, don't reinvent the wheel. You can look at best practice around the continent. I think it's important that we look at our own environment here. Europe is a good example. The Scandinavian countries do amazing things. There's so many examples that we can find, but you started. I hear what you said, I don't start at the beginning, but the possibility is now. And there we're filming the Mandela story, and who's playing Nelson Mandela? Not a South African, unfortunately. And this is the issue. When we talk about star quality, who are the stars? Who have become the stars? We are not that group of ugly ladies. So I really do think, sir, that this is an amazing opportunity, very exciting for me. As you can hear, I'm so passionate about it.
Absolutely.
And we will absolutely be there to support you and help you.
Thank you very much. This is very important. The lady here talks about content, local content. How many people know about Ugly Betty? The TV series all over the world. I mean, raise your hand. Ugly Betty. Ugly Betty. Okay. That's a worldwide phenomenon. That TV series was developed in Colombia, where the Colombian government said it's going to be 90% between 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock in the evening for local content. That then gave local producers the opportunity to make money and produce Ugly Betty. It got so huge, they sold to South Africa and Europe and the rest of history. That's the only way you can go is in terms of controlling that content for yourself will add to production. The same way with Zip. Everybody knows Cannes is #1, right, in terms of film festival. That is not a private festival. That is run by the French government with a $40 million budget. And it's not in the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So if you want to compete on the festival level or on the filmmaking level, it has to be that kind of decision made by government. You'd have no problem with money if you had 60% control from 3 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night in the evening. Those are facts. Thank you.
Zanzibar had the first color television station in Africa. So now, as we're talking about the role of the government, maybe we have the selective amnesia because that was the time Tanzania was working for socialism. And we might try to forget that, but it was a marriage of government and, as a parastatal, private businesses. So I want this in the record. Those of you who are interested in film and understanding where we are and why we're not what we could have been had that continued to be supported. But there's something called mageuzi. So perhaps one of the things we need to do is if we're going to study how to go forward, we have to know from whence we came. And those things need to be emphasized. We had it. The government was supporting it. And has developed, because the idea of building the nation, at that time, it was in the early days of independence, even the Goma, the country went around picking up the Goma, cultural dances, selecting elements from all of the different ethnic communities to create a national idea of culture. And as filmmakers, we incorporated that into our film. So I'm going to stop there, but I just want to want everyone to understand that we're not starting today. We have to ask what happened politically, economically, and why we've left all of that and it deteriorated from within.
We want to promote in Zanzibarian film, and I'm wondering how that image might change because this is such a tourist destination. If we went to certain other parts of the continent that are not as touristy, it would be a very specific kind of image, very specific kind of identity. But I feel like coming here and being here for about a month now, I feel like it's a very open, almost like international feeling because there are all these tourists at any given time on the island, but also the local people going about their lives. So I'm wondering how that changes the image that would be given in any Zanzibarian film.
10 years ago, we lobbied a lot to accommodate the African Broadcasting Charter to have 60% local content. And when we said 60% local content, we understood and we knew that we don't have the capacity right now to actually each country to provide that 60%. So we said 60% would be African content, regarded as local content. But now, as we're sitting here, we have broadcasters, or former broadcasters, and it is sad to tell you or share with you our frustrations. Producers in Tanzania, mainland and Tanzania Zanzibar.
packaging yourselves, if you're putting investment in your talent, in incentives, in all the things that we talked about government being able to do, if you don't package it and promote it to the rest of the world and they don't know about it, they're not going to take advantage of it and it will fall on deaf ears. So I would say pull that all together. When I did research before I came here, it was very difficult for me to find information on Tanzania and Zanzibar. When I went to your websites, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, the information was unclear. I wasn't able to find it. I've learned more in the last hour and a half about your country and the industry here than I did in a month and a half trying to research it. And Mario can tell you, I'm quite diligent about trying to follow up on things, and I wasn't able to find it. But just listening today, in an hour and a half, if you put that together and put it out there, people will find you.
We have the technology, we have the technicians, I started in this industry in 1974. I'm 56 years old. Okay, so for me, over the last 35 years, surely I must have learned something. Okay, that is why today I am a filmmaker, I'm a producer, I'm a director, and I'm a broadcaster. I'm at the moment based both in Nigeria and in South Africa, and we commute, my partner and I, we commute between the two countries because we broadcast running a children and youth channel in Nigeria and making movies in South Africa for the rest of the world. So we can do it, okay, so that we need to come together because we do have the people with experience, we can do it. And I'm just saying, opening my arms to everybody that together, there's nothing stopping us.